When you first watched Arcane and you hear the airship rumbling above you, and then you see Piltover gleaming with its grand orchestral music, did you feel enchanted, transported to another world? Or when Powder's monkey bomb exploded and we're in slow motion seeing her expression, did you know precisely what Powder felt in that moment without the use of words? If yes, wonderful, and if not, I envy you, because you might just enjoy catching it for the first time after hearing what I have to say. Because I believe this phenomena, emotional information delivered without words, is the work of music and audio. In combination with visuals, yes, but the music and audio is quite integral, and it will be our focus today. In today's study, I will be sharing my observation on Arcane's method in using music and audio to deliver narrative information and why I think it's particularly narratively handy. There will be 3 sound categories: character, momentum, and atmosphere, as these are the areas that I think Arcane uses music and audio the most. And the reason we're looking at it from a narrative angle is because I am not a music academic. Heck, I still don't even know how to read a music sheet over 5 beats per minute, which is like taking a whole 12 seconds to read a single word. So, if you're an avid music theorist or musician, please tell me if I butchered a term, missed something, played the wrong note with my instruments, or anything really that rubs you the wrong wave. Get it? Because sound wave. I'm so sorry. Let's just get to the first category. Character. So how did Arcane use music and audio to deliver emotional information for a character? Let's start with music. Motif and variation. Motif is the melodic theme of a character, like Powder's, and variation is the repeating of the motif throughout the story at important events for the character, with a variation of tones, like joyful, melancholic, or even angry. What this does is that the repeating of the motif will make us associate that melody with the character. And thus, when we hear the motif played further into the story, it reminds us of the character in the beginning, when the melody was first used, and every moment thereafter, becoming an instant memory recap of the character's emotional growth. And the varying tone directs us at what emotion the character is feeling throughout every particular moment. This results into the audience feeling the whole slew of emotions from the character's journey when the melody plays, which is emotional information worth 1,000 words, if not infinite, as words can't really replace or replicate music's function here. Unless, of course, you want to interrupt your audience with reminders and over-exposition. And you can really feel this motif and variation technique during the explosion scene, as the motif was first used to portray Powder being useless in the brawl with a meat tone. And then it's used again when Powder gets sidelined by Vi with a screechy, messy tone. And lastly, it is used again in the explosion scene with a fuller, calm tone. And since the motif is the same, this calm tone ties back to the previous memories this motif was used, leading us to the emotional conclusion that Powder's smile in this moment isn't just wonder because flashy blue cloud and a flying bunny, but because she finally feels useful after the past failures and rejection. Her bomb finally worked. And yes, you could also get this point across just by story, but emotionally, only music can deliver this feeling of nostalgia and growth with such precision, as again, motive reminds and tone directs. And so, no, this emotional effect can't be done if the motif isn't consistent, because then we don't associate the future motif with any past motifs that are attached to a character moment. And if there are no variations, it will be cheesy really quick, as there is no growth, no evolution of the motif alongside the character, making it feel lazy. Thankfully, Arcane didn't really do that. As a matter of fact, Arcane does this music motif and variation thing for other characters as well, like Victor, Jace, and etc. etc. But I do think the most identifiable and iconic motifs are Powder's and Victor's. Okay, next up we have audio. What does Arcane do with audio or sound effects to deliver character information? Simple, it uses iconic object sounds. Jinx has her grenade ping and clack 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 clack, and then Echo has his tick 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 of his pocket watch, and then Victor has his What this does is that it makes us associate this identifiable object or characteristic sounds to characters, making it a part of their identity, opening many opportunities to create audible tension that Arcane did not really use, I think, because this technique is kinda like Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, which essentially trains you to anticipate things. Like Jinx's grenade, for example. We know the sound and the destruction that comes after. So imagine if Echo was in his hideout singing happy songs with his community, and then suddenly you hear that ping and clack 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 clack. You will know it's Jinx without even seeing her, and given the context, you would be afraid for Echo's community as well. Or try to imagine if Jace and Victor were trying to play hide and seek. Jace would literally just have to be silent and wait for the and he'll know where to find Victor immediately. But then again, I may be wrong, and Arcane have used it to create tension an abundant amount of times. But the production team did still make these audio cues very identifiable for each character, which really helps bring them to life in their own unique and audible way. Alrighty, now that we're done with the character category, let's move on to how Arcane uses music and audio to build momentum. Starting again with music. Build up. This is pretty straightforward. In a scene, there are hills, valleys, and mountains, elevations in tension. And music helps the viewer traverse these terrains and keep up pace by complementing the visuals with musical momentum. Arcane does this most noticeably in scenes like the Vi and Silcogoon's fight. The music, Rise to the Surface, builds to hype us up for the impending action. It goes silent to instill shock, and even mellows to transition us into the slow-mo phase. Whilst the visuals prepares our minds for the action, the music helps guide and reaffirm our emotions to feel the scene's momentum as it is intended. And if you wanna feel how well Arcane's music builds and lowers momentum, try imagining a rescue mission scene of your own story and play the Rise to the Surface music, and you might be able to feel how the song builds and fluctuates high and low tension moments. It's quite fun, really, and even funner than watching the original scene, especially if you have a vivid imagination. Alrighty, now on to the audio as it pertains to momentum. I found that Arcane uses sound effects to help you anticipate shifts in momentum, like the clack-a-lack-a-lacka of Jinx's grenades, or the monkey bombs. And the zaps builds the momentum of the bomb, like a ticking clock getting closer to kaboom. It makes you anticipate. But other than anticipation, the audio design also helps smooth the momentum of the visuals, and the volley artists did a stellar job, especially in the Vi and Silcogoon fight combat scene again. Just hear the sounds of the punches and the knife clashing. The sound effects essentially become like the oil to the gears of the story's momentum. Alrighty, now off to my absolute favorite part of music and audio usage by Arcane, the atmosphere. Oh, the music. The atmospherical music. I can't tell you just how many times I hiked up my local hill listening to Piltover theme songs and time it just right that it reaches its peak when I do as well and see the sunrise. Heck, even my alarm ringtone is A Bicentennial. So I basically wake up to the sound of Piltover, and it's beautiful. I feel like a yordle inventor waking up with crusty eyes each morning, and I would highly recommend it. Arcane, however, uses the atmospheric music to deliver the theme, the idea of the society, the environment it wishes to immerse us in. With Piltover songs like A Bicentennial or A City of Progress, you feel the hope and grandeur that the future is bright tomorrow with inventions you'll create, which is surprisingly what the city is about, meaning that the composers delivered the theme, the soul, successfully. This results in the viewers feeling the intended heart of the environment without words, which, if I were to give a worthy example, would be a random civilian praising how great a city is and why, aka overexposition, aka snooze. And I also admire how Arcane presented the music of Zon's atmosphere through Silco's ominous background songs, the more hip underground music, and my favorite of all, You're Stronger Than You Think, which is the orchestral song when Vi encourages Powder. I think that particular song, in combination with the visuals of Zon looking over Piltover, paints a feeling of a city with loss, hope, and willingness to fight for a better future. That is the emotional information Arcane's atmospherical music was able to deliver without words. As for the audio, Arcane was able to capture the sound of the people in each environment. It captures what the vehicles sound like, the conversations, the mannerisms, the background machinery, and variety of noises. My absolute favorite examples would probably be the airship hovering across our main characters in the beginning of the show, and the Happy Progress Day fair montage. The sounds just transport you into another world, into their world, because they feel so lively, and it really brings a story, a city, a civilization to life. But beyond immersing us into environments, Arcane uses atmospheric audio to set the mood as well, like the eerie boat creaks and distant when Caitlin approaches Stillwater Prison on a boat. It builds tension naturally, or audibly technically, and yes, it's kind of like preparing momentum, but through the environment. Thus, no dialogue needed, unless you count as dialogue. But that is it. That's all my observations on Arcane's use of music and audio to deliver emotional narrative information, which is efficient and amazing from a narrative standpoint. But really what makes it even better is the merit of each individual scores. My goodness, I play the orchestrals on repeat daily and in different combinations to imagine different scenarios for my own stories. But since I am not equipped to dissect the music on a musical note-by-note standard, I'll just leave you with my favorite Arcane soundtracks rather than telling you why the music are amazing, which are the following. And just a little tip, if you arrange Rise to the Surface, The Explosion, You're a Jinx, and You're Perfect in that order, whilst reimagining the ending of Act 1, which is essentially just adding the Jinx and Silco motif at the end of Act 3 early on, you may just feel a more intense set of emotions, like I have, as You're Perfect is the song from the Act 3 ending, and since recurring motifs recap memories attached to the motif, that could make the You're Perfect scene even more rich, as the motif played when Silco and Jinx's connection finally is severed is the same to when it was first established. A very nice loop, a fitting end motive-wise. But that's it. That's all I have to say today. So hear the Arcane score again if you can. It's amazing for the imagination. And before I bid you farewell, I'll make a little announcement on what my next Arcane analysis video will be about, which will be emotional investment, which is the juiciest topic, as it is in my emotional narrative specialty domain. Alrighty, until then, I bid you farewell. Timber yours, bookshelf Beaver.